Welcome to the Tax Sale Podcast, where tax sale investing is made easy. My name is Casey Denman. I'm a tax sale veteran and expert. I'm the author of the Tax Sale Playbook, founder of the Tax Sale Academy, and I am your host right here on the Tax Sale Podcast. Thank you so much for joining me on today's podcast episode. As a reminder, this podcast is completely free and it's brought to you through and because of the Tax Sale Academy, which you can always check out by visiting taxsaleacademy.com. So over the last dozen or so years now, I've had the absolute privilege of teaching many students from all over the world through the Tax Sale Academy. I've played just a very small role in their path to success simply by sharing what I've learned over the years. To this day, one of the most fulfilling things in my life is when one of these folks sends me an email to tell me about a deal that they have done, about the business that they've created, or about the income they've been able to generate through this business. Every single time, I put a huge smile on my face and often do a little fist pump into the air when I read those emails. So on this week's episode of the podcast, I wanted to share a few strategies of some of those students. Now, I'm not saying that these strategies are going to work for everybody or even anyone else, but hopefully these stories, these strategies, these lessons will open up your eyes to the possibilities of the tax sale business. And hopefully they'll get your creativity for your own strategies flowing. I've got 5 students I want to highlight today. Outside of maybe one of them, these are not my most successful students, but they've used strategies that I've decided to share that'll help the most people. The first student invests solely in OTC tax sales. These are over-the-counter tax sales. And of course, I've got lots of videos on OTC sales. What he does, he uses a strategy that I've literally been teaching for years, and he took that strategy and he runs with it. While many others have used a strategy in the past for a few deals here or there, to date, I believe he's probably the most successful student I've had, and he uses this single strategy alone. He focuses all of his efforts on this one strategy. And this is the only thing he does in the real estate at all. He is a master at buying and selling cheap properties. And he does this by scouring OTC tax sale lists on a weekly basis. Now, it's not fair of me to disclose his specific markets, but he's identified a few markets where the properties are plentiful and the competition is very low, and there are hundreds of properties on the OTC list with more added on a monthly basis. And he invests strictly in vacant lots. He'll buy as many as he can off of that OTC list in one of his targeted subdivisions, and he turns right around and he sells them as is. Now, he's posted these properties on a variety of different websites over the years and has many potential buyers lined up for these properties, most of whom are speculators. They buy properties cheap, hoping they'll eventually go up in value. So he'll buy the properties from the OTC list. He contacts these buyers. They say that they want the property, so he sends over a contract, which is just a basic template that he goes and inputs specific stuff in, like the property details and the buyer's name. They sign it electronically by clicking a few buttons. Then they have 48 hours to wire him the funds into his business bank account. From there, he prepares his own deeds, signs those deeds, records those deeds for them, and that's it. Now, the prices that he pays for those properties are extremely low, as is the actual dollar amount profit. He's not making $50,000 a property or anything like that. In fact, some of the margins, some of the dollar amount profits that he's making might be too low for some people to really even want to mess with. But he's generally entering the investment around $400 or $500 and exiting around $1,100 or $1,200. The percent gain is fantastic, but the actual dollar amount per property isn't anything crazy. But since he works in volume, he's doing extremely well. The next member that I want to discuss actually lives full-time in Brazil. While the majority of the properties that he invests in are on the East Coast, he has invested in a few states across the country and, out west over time, but generally he's up and down the East Coast. He's very diversified in both tax liens and tax deeds, but get this, he has never been to the States to look at a single property. Initially, what he did was he had his daughter, who was in the States going to school, look at properties for them. He would send her some information about the properties, and at first she enjoyed it because she got to travel around the East Coast a little bit looking at properties. Over time, from what I understand, she got bored of doing this and just didn't want to do it anymore. So eventually, he realized he could take those same notes, that same information he was providing his daughter, and he could hire people local to these markets. I've discussed using local scouts before, but this gentleman took it to an entirely new level. To this date, I believe he's purchased somewhere around 20 or 25 properties as tax deeds and a few dozen tax liens. And he has not been to a single one of them with his own two eyes. Obviously, there is a risk in trusting others to do the things like drive-bys for you. But you can mitigate this risk quite a bit with some of the strategies that we teach in the academy, although some form of risk is always going to remain if you don't see it with your own two eyes. While he's definitely not my only member that takes this approach, his story is one that I know well. So hopefully that story will help some of you guys if you're struggling to find the time to drive by properties on your own. The next one is a woman that has been a member of the academy for years now. She originally started off investing in anything that would make money. If it would make money, she would buy it and try to sell it. And she still does that from time to time. But her niche has kind of transformed into buying rundown properties in areas that were once economically depressed that she has some sort of connection to, like her hometown. Now, a lot of those areas are slowly starting to come back. But these are properties that have been vacant for years prior to her purchasing them. They're in very, very bad condition. I'm talking about on the verge of being condemned. She's partnered with a general contractor in the area, and together their goal is to revitalize as much of their city as possible. Obviously, this kind of approach takes time, it takes money, and lots of patience for the end payout, but the community truly appreciates her efforts, and karma can go a long way. I've seen countless economically depressed areas with lots of properties pop up at tax sales over the years, and it's really refreshing to see an academy member step in with the determination that she has to step up to the plate and make a difference in her community. She's completed, I think, around 6 or 7 so far, with others in her future. The next academy member I want to share focuses solely on mobile homes and mobile home land. If it's commercial, site built, anything else, he will not touch it. He has created a niche, and he does quite well based entirely on mobile home properties. He works directly with a few mobile home resellers. They sell used mobile homes, and he's got a lot of contacts in the mobile home repair business. He's kind of merged two businesses. Now, if he knows that he has a used mobile home he can get a good deal on, he'll focus on mobile home lots at the tax sale. Then he buys a lot, installs that mobile home, attaches utilities, all that good stuff, and then he sells it as a complete package. Occasionally, if a mobile home itself pops up at the tax sale, he'll buy it along with the land that it is attached to, of course, goes in, guts and remodels the mobile home, and he'll resell the property like that. If it's beyond repair, if the mobile home is just dilapidated and falling down, he has contacts to pull it out. He puts a used mobile in its place in better condition. Then he utilizes the utilities that are already in place, like a well and septic perhaps, and sells that one as a package. And by the way, his margins are usually much, much higher than what you might think. So, mobile homes, you can definitely make money with them. The next member I want to share has combined real estate investing and internet marketing. And this is kind of a cool story here. His focus is on vacant single-family lots throughout much of the Midwest and the Southeast. The majority of these lots are selling for less than $20,000. What he'll do, he'll create a file for each one of these properties that he usually acquires at tax sales. This file is going to include all the pertinent property information, such as the size, the zoning, the address, and a couple of dozen photos that either somebody from his team or a local scout that he hires has taken. Now, over the years, he's created a large list of potential buyers, but he also runs ads for affordable land on a variety of different websites across the internet, and it is very possible you've seen one of his ads before. His emails and his ads all send people to his website, which is operated almost like an e-commerce store, but it's selling vacant land on it instead of trinkets or whatever else. Users can then select from a number of states. They can narrow it down by all sorts of different filters and stuff. They can look through the available properties, and they can even access due diligence documents right at their fingertips. If they decide to move forward, he actually has a contract attached to each one of these listings. They click it, they input their name, other details, e-sign that contract, and then they're provided with an automated email that sends them wiring information. Now notice here, most of the effort is spent on acquiring the properties and marketing the properties, which he has developed great systems for. Not any time, or very little time at least, is spent dealing with customer questions, inspectors, contractors, or anything like that. Once somebody gets that contract, they send it over, they send the wire transfer over, he prepares the deed or sends it to a title company depending on whether he's issuing title insurance for that property or not. And then that's it. Obviously, he has a very, very good system that has taken a number of years to put into place, but it shows you the potential of how somebody has leveraged their talents and combined it with the tax sale business. So there you have it. 5 different strategies for success used by 5 different Tax Sale Academy members. And of course, I'm sure there are hundreds more different strategies as well that my members have utilized over the years. The point of this episode, though, is to help you understand there's so many strategies out there that you can take advantage of to operate a successful tax sale business. So find out what your objectives are, what works best for you, your lifestyle, your skill set, and put that into action. Listen, I truly hope this episode has helped you out. If this episode helped, or any of our episodes here on the Tax Sale Podcast have helped you out, please do me a huge favor and leave a 5-star review or a positive feedback comment on whatever podcasting or video platform you're listening to us on right now, because you never know, somebody might get into this incredible business simply because you took a few seconds to do so. And as always, if we can be of any additional help, make sure you check out our website at taxsaleacademy.com. Hey, take care and make it a successful day. We'll see you next time right here on the Tax Sale Podcast. Bye-bye.